Okay, cool. Your channel. Whoa. Oh, there we are. So here's the link. Come through. Um, so spam chat when you get through. Let me know everything's still working. And just tell me if you can hear this as well. Hopefully everything's still working. Are we here yet? Maybe not. Sure. And we heard the music come through for a sec. Real good. Yeah, sec. And I'm just going to assume the audio is working. Okay, so I got the, started sequencing a beat, fairly minimal kind of drum beat going on. So, the obvious choice is start adding some, audio sequencing of some sort. Now we can, assemble samples, we could record instrumentation or the rest of it. For now, we're just going to stick in MIDI world, today's MIDI kind of world. So virtual instruments. And if we look under here, so we kind of briefly looked at the drums and the drum presets, so the pre-made kits already that come with Ableton. We will explore making custom kits a wee bit later on. But for now, let's just kind of trudge along. So if we click on instruments here, this is all of our virtual instruments, and if you've got the suite installed, which I hope is all of you, you should have all of these. If you don't have the suite trial installed, then you will have limited number of these instruments. I recommend that you do at least install the trial for the suite and not any other one, as you will get access to all the effects, all the instruments, etc. So, as a brief overview of these instruments, so analog is, so remember this is all synthesis or sample based, but the analog is meant to be simulating analog synthesis. So, the Junos, the blah blah blah, the blah blah blahs, all the analog synthesis. So, you may have noticed this. No, you wouldn't have. We haven't actually spoken about this. So note, we have the default instrument just as it is, analog, all these different instruments, and we also have this little arrow. If we open up this arrow, we see the firstly we see the categories of presets available for that instrument. So, if we look into it, we can start to preview some of these sounds. Okay, wait, I want to come back to that one because I like that sound. I'm just going to shove it in there for later on. But let's just continue on. So we do have presets available for these sounds, but obviously you can make custom sounds with this. It's all synthesis, so you can go nuts. Just as an overview of what these are, so this is meant to simulate analog synthesis. Collision is meant to simulate any thing that is hit, so something with a string, so pianos. We can have a look here. Guitars, bass, all those kind of things that are hit. There's a collision involved. Again, it is synthesis, so don't expect it to sound exactly like the acoustic instrument. Drum rack is, we'll look into that more, but we are utilizing a drum rack within our drum sequencing that we've been doing. Electric is meant to synthesize like electric bass, electric pianos, so like Rhodes and all the rest of it. External instruments we won't worry about, but that's when you're involving external synths, so hardware synths inside of Ableton. We can utilize that to help with that process. For those who do want to learn about that, we'll have to talk about that kind of separately. Impulse is like the OG drum rack. It's kind of like the the 808. If we have a look at it briefly, it's like instead of a square of samples that we can shove in there, So, can someone repost the link in there for Sean? In the classroom. So this only has 8 clip slots. We will look at this. So this was the OG drum rack. Oh wait, maybe I'll have to do it. Copy, paste, go. There's some interesting things to do that we can do with this thing, which we will explore later in the kind of experimental part of this class. Oh. The next one is an instrument rack. So an instrument rack usually consists of, thanks John, Paul. So an instrument rack is one of these virtual instruments, but it also has a chain of effects to create the final tone. So it's kind of like it's a rack of things rather than just an individual instrument. We'll look at that later on and how to create our own racks. Operator is FM synthesis. Sampler is a sampler, so you can load samples into it and pitch them. Simpler is the simple version of that sampler. With the sampler, it's quite an advanced sampler, and think if you've messed around with Native Instruments Contact, it's like that, where we can use multiple samples for different keys, for different velocities and stuff, and we can come up with really complex sample libraries. So if you're into that, we can do some funky stuff with that, and also in the experimental kind of end of this course, we will look at using this in weird and wonderful ways. Oh, actually, we might even look at that in a couple of weeks. Tension is meant to simulate strings, so guitars, violins, all the things like this. And then wavetable, if you know what that is wavetable synthesis. So let's choose, maybe I'll go with wavetable. Yeah, sure. And remember, I'm going to drag it onto a MIDI track. If you don't have a MIDI track available, remember if you drop it into this area, it'll automatically create one for you. Like so. And then here we see this virtual instrument, this wavetable synthesizer. So I grabbed that track, I grabbed that track from down here and I just moved it closer to the drums. I just want to be able to see it in context. So there's lots of parameters here, and we'll kind of go through bits and pieces of this, but not really, as there's a lot to know. But there are some key features in all the sense that you should know. So obviously, firstly, we need to generate some noise with this. And the only way we can do this, because it is a virtual instrument, is we need to sequence it. Again, we first need to double-click to create in any of the clip slots, blank clip slots, double-click to create a clip. So double-click, and then we see the piano roll. And again, we need to make sure that this little headphone's on, which it should be on from the last time because we turned it on with the drum rack. But if it's not, make sure it's on, and this allows us to preview the sound. So I had a melody idea. What was it? It's just a step down thing. So wait, but I don't know what the timing is going to be like, so let's find out. So I push spacebar, we hear our drums, and obviously I need to push play on the clip. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, so mentally this is spaced out a lot more. So let me just turn off all the preview just so we can move through this a bit quicker and not get annoyed by the tone. But. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this experiment. Maybe I should do something a bit more user friendly, but let's see if I'm even close. So this is going to be 2 bars. So just like with the drum rack, drum clip, sorry, we can change the length, so 2 bars. No, okay. that's going to take some time for that idea to go. So instead, let's just simplify the idea. Let's do some chords. C9. So, we didn't talk about this yet. So currently, I'm going to push play on this. We've got a single hit noise, but obviously with melody we can have length. So let me just turn down the drums so I can talk over this. So to change the length, if we go to the edge of the note we drew, we can drag that out. And then we get a sustained note. Great. So I can also just, keep clicking and keep dragging. But there is a quicker way to kind of put notes in, especially if you're doing the same length. We can Alt drag it up. So for example, I'm going to hold Alt on Mac, it's Option. So the key, what is it? Where is it located for you? It's next to the command, the left command button, the Option button. If you hold Option and drag up, actually for PC it's Control. It'll start, drag duplicating. So then you can quickly start assembling chords. Let me just turn that down a wee bit. So I'm going to drag this all up an octave. That's a wee bit low. So great, I've got my first chord. Let's extend it. And again, I'm just going to select all those notes and duplicate. Let me just turn on the preview. Sure. So we're starting to assemble some chords. This works. So I'm going to push Shift Tab because there's a couple of things I want to look at here. So I've got, with this particular synthesis, and same with the analog synth, same with the operator. Obviously we have different wave types. So with this particular one I can sort of slide through the... The other thing to know about synthesis is not only can you choose the wave type, so there goes a sine wave up into a square wave, passing through triangle and saw. We also have filters, obviously, so this is currently a low pass filter. So all of the synthesizers within this should have this parameter. I'm hoping you know some of this. I think one of your other teachers will kind of deep dive into this hardcore. And then the last thing that really should, as a basis of understanding synthesis, is understanding the ADS, attack, decay, sustain, release, which we're looking at here, and it's happening to the amp. So okay, the volume, so we can fade it in. Let's say it has a half-second fade in. Notice the volume turned up, and then there'll be a dip, and then sustain here. So, relatively normal stuff if you've been making beats before. So, let's spend some time doing this. Start having a listen to some of the sounds. Have a look at the presets for each of these as well. You might come up with some interesting ones. Maybe what if I tried it over here? Oh, no, that's a mono synth. So that's not going to work. That's pretty ugly. Let's find, not mallet, let's go keys. Sure. Let's try that one. Whoa. What just happened there? I'm getting 100% processor activity. So yeah, let's spend 15 minutes or so kind of sequencing some audio, try sequencing some bass lines as well, find some type of virtual instrument that you could shove in, sequence some bass lines, and let's see if we can get some ideas kind of rolling. See you back in class.